So about a week ago, I made my first video talking about the Saberspark allegations. I'm not going to go over it too much here. I'd rather just cover his response. Feel free to go back to my first video covering the situation. However, if you decide that's not for you, I'll give you a quick rundown. An account on Twitter by the name of Brony Fandom released a couple screenshots seemingly telling the story of a fan from 2012-2013 who got groomed and assaulted by Saberspark. Long story short, these screenshots claim that the fan had met Saberspark at a convention, and after a brief hangout session, he had forced himself onto her without asking for her consent first. Other than a few screenshots of the story being plainly written down, and even then the writing of the story was pretty questionable, there was no other proof. We had no screenshots, we had no messages, we had no voice recordings, we had nothing solid to really go off of. Many people on Twitter, I suspect out of genuine distaste and hate for Saberspark, ran with the story and posted multiple memes and reactions talking about how relieved they were that they had a reason to hate him. It was covered by a good amount of channels, mostly smaller channels, and had left off saying that I hoped that Saberspark would come back and respond to the allegations. May 12th, 2025, he has put out a video on his main channel responding to the allegations. Now, the beginning of his video is mostly covering the video put up by I Love Kim Impossible a Lot, a YouTuber who seemingly used to have somewhat of a friendship with Saberspark. However, after they had a falling out, she has had a grudge against him since. After she put this video up, many of the comments on it called her out for seemingly clout chasing. This, along with the fact that she hyped her upload of the video out, which was seemingly taking a serious stance on its serious allegations, had people feeling kind of icky about her. She treated this thing as kind of a special showcase, main event for her channel. It was very obvious she was simply trying to get attention from it, which I know anybody uploading anything to the internet, that's the main focus. However, there's a difference between that and glorifying allegations with no actual proof, as if there's some kind of artistic magnum opus. After talking about that for a brief minute, Saberspark very plainly states that the allegations against him were assaulting somebody
is completely false,
and explains how much it sickens him that he would even have to be put into a position to say this. I take this part of the video as well as the rest of the video is completely sincere.
I feel disgusted that I even have to say that. I've had sexual partners before in the past, but we have always abided by enthusiastic and reciprocated consent.
He moves on to say that he believes the entire situation was a hit piece orchestrated by KB and Brony. Not only that he believes this, but he has evidence to support it. And unlike Brony fandoms, he actually provides evidence. He explains that he met KP back in 2014 because they lived in the same state and they had the same interest.
I met KP in 2014. We lived in the same state and eventually became friends. This was mainly because we shared common interests. At the end of 2014, I started a new job and entered a new relationship with someone. For the next 5 months, I was extremely busy. KP would occasionally reach out to me, but I did not have time to hang with her. It was nothing personal, and we naturally drifted apart.
He says there was nothing personal. There was no kind of fight, no argument, nothing to really drive a wedge other than life and general responsibilities. 8 years later, a friend of Saber's had apparently reached out to him on her behalf, and she had claimed that one of his editors had done something to her 8 years prior. The editor responded and said that the situation was settled. Apparently the situation was all about a joke that Chris had made. Chris is the editor, by the way. And this joke was that of a sexual offensive kind. And while on call, he did get on the call and apologize.
Yeah, Chris, you want to say anything?
I guess I'd go first, yeah.
Go for it.
All right. Well, first, I think it's the obvious thing is one, just want to profusely apologize for that terrible fucking thing I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that, God, was an absolute horrible person so many years ago, and you didn't deserve that. So.
All right. So I don't really have anything else that I feel comfortable saying at this point, but you know, I'll just leave with good luck and may God have mercy on your soul. And you know, this too shall pass. Okay, all those things. So yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm not saying these jokes are appropriate at all, and context definitely matters. However, trying to get somebody fired and ruin their life over a joke that they had made 10 years prior is kind of ridiculous, and I think anybody can agree with that. And her entire attitude that she takes during the situation, not only the one that happened just now, but this one that we're talking about, is kind of sickening. Honestly, I don't know, it seems like some kind of power trip that she's going on, like telling somebody, you know, may God help your soul because they made a dirty joke is kind of fucking weird. Again, she's very eccentric about the whole situation. Not once does it seem like she's taking anything seriously or trying to make anybody the center of the situation other than herself. Immediately after this, he dives into the interview that she had done with Slug Entertainment, where she confirms herself that she has absolutely no proof and no evidence of anything actually happening.
So just to be as objective as possible here, so what you're saying is that basically the evidence that you were given was more personal circumstance and hearsay rather
Correct.
than like
Correct.
objective evidence.
Correct. They didn't have any Skype logs or anything because of how long it was ago, and we did ask. So
Were there other people that went in to verify these claims, or were there other attempts to verify the claims being made?
Not to my knowledge. I believe, I don't know the history of Bonk's relationship with the victim itself. I don't know to what extent he knew about everything before the statement was prepared. But I do know that Amy was vouching for them, and that was also because I knew Amy was on, or has been on, the convention scenes. That's how she met. Peter knew her husband.
And basically just admits that everything was hearsay. With that first correct, you could just hear the anxiety in her voice now that she's realizing that everything she's said so far is pretty fucking stupid. Immediately after, he dives into the fact many of the people who contributed to the video either had their resources and content stolen from them to use, or they were hired and not told exactly what they were working on in the first place. And that's pretty much it. He ends the video off. Everything seems very sincere to me. He gave a response just as most of us were hoping for. It was a very honest response. He provided screenshots. He provided context. He essentially provided everything that the people who started this whole mess in the first place couldn't. I'd consider this all kind of over, swept under the rug, not really dismissed, but I don't know, case closed. I'm just happy to hear that he's innocent. That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching.